Greetings. Welcome to another episode of my magical world building project. In our last episode, we took a long and in-depth dive into the mechanics of casting. If you managed to get through it all, then well done. Consider yourself well educated regarding the complex world of magical casting. Affinity maximums, focus thresholds, subconscious innates, captured spells, codex ciphers, casting costs, and spell classifications. Armed to the teeth with all this information, as you now are, it is time to move forwards. In today's episode, we shall take a look at how humanity has utilized the different arcs of magic, and from them has created various styles or schools of spellcasting. Episode 4. The Schools of Magic. For each of the arcs, there is an associated style, or school of magic. The arcs are very different in their nature and behavior, and the resulting schools are equally different, with each school possessing their own strengths and weaknesses. Each school of magic was developed independently from the others, in different places, and so the magic often serves different purposes from school to school. 6 of these schools are associated with a religion and a god, and only Sumas has neither, for it was only rediscovered in recent historical times. What follows is a list of the various schools of magic, the associated strengths and weaknesses, a few details regarding the people that utilize them, as well as some of the potential dangers involved in their misuse. Blue magic. The people of Bariast practice blue magic, which is rooted in the Arc of Koros and manifests as ice magic and control over water and the weather. Blue magic feels like cold pressure, pressing down, and smells strongly of ozone and wet grass. The blue arc is very defensive and mainly involves the application of magical barriers and shields. Blue casters can encase themselves and their weapons in crystalline armor, protecting them from both physical and magical attacks. Blue casters are masters at blocking incoming spells. They have a unique ability that allows them to absorb some of the energy from blocked attacks, which they can then use to fuel their own spellcasting. Most blue spells are relatively inexpensive to cast, allowing blue casters to operate effectively over long periods of time. The blue arc allows its users to create powerful icy barriers. But these walls of ice are more than just protection, they are also vast stores of magical energy. Blue casters are fond of banking their energies into these walls, increasing the defensive capabilities as well as the physical size of the walls. They prefer to sit behind these barriers, blocking attacks and using the absorbed energy to further grow their defenses. Blue casters can also reclaim magical energy that they have stored in their walls. This reduces the size and defense of the wall, but allows them to mitigate their casting costs when needed. These magical barriers eventually grow into towering cliffs of ice, which blue casters can then bring crashing down, crushing their targets in an avalanche of power. Triggering avalanches can deal massive damage, but will consume the blue caster's defenses, leaving them weakened and open to counterattack. The blue arc does contain some offensive spells at high levels, but these usually require a large store of magical energy to cast. Blue casters can create powerful storms that batter their targets with jagged hailstone, or can devastate droves of enemies with tidal waves of freezing water. These spells are expensive, however, and most blue casters are very careful about when to use them. High-level blue casters are exceptionally proficient at blocking spells, as well as growing and repairing their icy barriers. It becomes increasingly difficult to successfully damage a blue caster at these levels, as they can easily fend off most attacks. The blue arc is patient and paced. A blue caster will build their walls up slowly, waiting until the time is right, and then strike suddenly and ferociously, often to devastating effect. Blue casters draw from Koros, which is readily available to them, but it is best to draw from this arc in small quantities. Because of this, blue casters can run into problems if they overexert themselves too quickly. Like all arcs of magic, Koros can become dangerous to the caster if not used properly. Koros is apathetic by nature, and overuse of blue magic can lead to laziness, forgetfulness, sluggish movement and thought, fear and resentment, carelessness, paralysis, and even death. Koros is insidious, and its spells can slowly infest a caster, taking root over a long period of time. Often their effects can go unnoticed until it is too late. Red magic. Red magic was developed by the people of Kadrasia. It is rooted in the Arc of Rin and manifests mainly as fire-based spells. Red magic is very aggressive and is widely used as an offensive aid to blast foes from range. It feels hot, dry and prickly, and smells faintly of sulfur and charcoal. The Red Arc contains many instant attacking spells designed to inflict large amounts of damage very quickly to a target. The simplest and most common of these spells is a fireball, which can be cast by red magic wielders for little or no cost. Fireballs do minimal damage under normal circumstances, but because they are free to cast, they can be used to slowly wear down a target. Fireballs, however, have a feature that is common to many red spells and is unique to the Red Arc. They can be fed with magic to overpower their damage output. Any extra energy added to the spell over the base casting cost will only increase the damage of the spell when it is finally cast. This mechanic has no upper limit, making a fireball spell extremely versatile and potentially quite deadly if powered up to a significant level. When any spell is cast, the energy used to power it lingers within the caster in a process we call decay. For most casters, the decaying energy is a danger to them until it has been recycled back into the world. But casters of the Red Arc have developed a special ability to quickly reclaim these decaying energies after they have cast their spells. They can rekindle some of their lingering energy and reuse it to mitigate the costs of further spellcasting. This means that red casters can keep up a sustained and prolonged attack without worrying about burnout, so long as they dedicate some of their attention to repeatedly rekindling their decaying magic. Where the Red Arc excels in destructive capabilities, it is sadly lacking when it comes to protection. There are few defensive spells within the Red Arc, and little ability to block incoming damage. Red casters can conjure fire sprites, small elemental entities that bolster their power and offer them a small amount of protection. But these sprites can be easily destroyed. A red caster may be able to block a small amount of damage from one or two simple spells, but they mainly rely on their own aggression as their most basic form of defense. High-level red spells are so powerful that they cannot be blocked. The only defense against them is a magical barrier, or any unfortunate minions that may have been conjured onto the battlefield. These high-level spells are expensive to cast, but red casters can of course rekindle some of their decaying magical energy to use again. High-level red casters are also able to summon powerful Fire Lord elementals. These hulking molten entities not only protect the caster, but also deal significant damage to those around them. Some red casters can also channel the power of Rin directly into a weapon. This fiery weapon acts as a conduit for their power, allowing them to massively increase their damage potential. The tactics of a red caster are to attack fiercely and frequently, barraging their targets with attacks, and always keeping them on their back foot. They look to finish battles quickly and decisively, without letting their opponents get a chance to fight back. Drawing from the Arc of Rin can often be dangerous due to its explosive nature. It is all too easy to draw too much from the Red Arc and burn yourself quickly out. Red spells are notoriously temperamental and unruly and require a steely willpower to remember. Overuse of red magic can lead to sudden mood swings, exhaustion, high blood pressure, paranoia, uncontrolled rage and depression, heart attacks and strokes. Yellow magic. From the land of Corazia comes yellow magic, which is rooted in the Arc of Arikos. Yellow magic is concerned with the manipulation of light and is perhaps the least aggressive of all the arcs of magic. It feels warm, with a faint static buzz, and smells of cinnamon and cloves. Yellow casters prefer to stay out of combat. They use their magic to conceal themselves and conjure invisible barriers. Theirs is the art of subterfuge and misdirection. A proficient yellow caster can bend light around themselves, disappearing from sight, and can create mirages to keep their targets disorientated and disordered. Yellow casters are masters of manipulating energy flows. They possess the ability to dampen magical energy, lowering the damage output of those around them. They are proficient at blocking incoming spells, and can even create magical shields to protect themselves from harm. Yellow casters can also instantly liberate decaying magical energy and disperse it back into the world. They do this to quickly dump their lingering energies during prolonged encounters, allowing them to continue sustained casting. They can also sever the magical bond between a caster and their summoned minion, banishing the minion and removing it completely from the battlefield. However, the real power of the Yellow Arc lies in its ability to heal injuries and combat fatigue. Arguably the strongest spell in the Yellow Codex is a heal spell, which can be used to quickly repair physical damage and reinvigorate those suffering from exhaustion. Yellow casters can even cast these heals on themselves. The act of healing consumes a lot of energy, but yellow casters have developed the ability to quickly absorb and convert latent magical energy around them. This ability, combined with a yellow caster's natural affinity with their arc, means that they can perform a basic heal for next to no cost. At high levels, a yellow caster can absorb even greater amounts of energy, allowing them to perform higher-level spells more safely. High-level yellow casters can also perform much more complicated and potent healing spells that are able to repair even critical damage. These greater healing spells are costly, however, even for a proficient yellow caster. The yellow arc is fantastic for employing a defensive strategy but lacks aggressive, attacking spells. High-level yellow casters do eventually gain the ability to cast powerful bolts of lightning, but this spell is both expensive and rare, and yellow casters use it only sparingly. Most yellow casters prefer to stay hidden, away from combat, healing their companions, and acting in more of a supporting role. They play the long, passive game, weathering damage until their targets run out of power to throw at them and give up out of sheer exhaustion. Yellow spells usually require large amounts of magic to cast, and while yellow casters are adept at absorbing energy, there must be an abundance of energy present for them to work effectively. In areas of low magical energy, a yellow caster will struggle to work their magic. Yellow spells will often possess long decay times, meaning that they cannot be cast again quickly. Some yellow casters get around this by using their Liberate ability, but they must remember the Liberate spell to do this effectively. Working directly with Orikos and the flow of energy can be dangerous if not done properly. For example, a yellow caster can use their magic to heal by funneling energy flows into the damaged parts of the body. But if not done correctly, the caster can be drained of their own life force or can even suffer magical feedback. Overuse of Orikos can lead to headaches, blackouts, eating disorders, lapses in short-term memory, attention deficit, chronic fatigue, and extreme magical feedback, which can result in various genetic mutations. Grey magic. Grey magic is rooted in the Ark of Ashun. It comes from the land of Morthenskor and concerns itself primarily with the process of decay. Grey magic feels like a falling sensation and has the strong smell of almond and vanilla. Grey magic is more commonly known as shadowmancy and is viewed with general distaste in many places. But in the realm of Morthenskor, grey magic is seen as a normal everyday practice, and its users are respected members of society. The Grey Arc allows its users to draw power from decaying sources of magic. Grey casters are proficient scavengers and can make use of these otherwise inaccessible resources, reclaiming decaying magic to use in their spellcasting. This means that Grey casters can function effectively even if they are deprived of their main source of power. Grey casters can also reclaim their own decaying magic, allowing them to vastly reduce their decay times and quickly cast further spells. This ability means that a Grey caster can become very dangerous over a prolonged battle. Grey magic can be used to record and recall memories, capture spirits, and delay the aging process. Grey casters often live extended lifetimes and possess nearly perfect memories. Experienced Grey casters can even investigate other people's memories. Grey magic is not especially defensive. It does not possess many blocking abilities, nor does it allow its users to create shields or heal themselves. Grey magic is also not very offensive. Grey spells are designed to slow their targets and wither their ability to block, rather than damage targets directly. Rather than fighting directly, Grey casters have become master summoners and specialize in utilizing minions to do their bidding in combat. They use their Grey magic to capture spirits and conjure a wide range of undead minions to both defend them and attack their opponents. The most common of these minions is a shadow. A Grey caster can summon these spirits for almost no cost and does not need to sustain them. Most Grey casters employ these spirits to quickly gain the upper hand in an encounter. More practiced summoners may also be able to raise skeletons. Alone, a single skeleton poses little threat and is relatively easy to destroy, but in groups they can quickly become a problem. Working together with a hive-like mind, skeletons can deal considerable damage when in greater numbers. Conjuring and powering skeletons requires little energy for a proficient Grey caster, and they can quickly raise and replenish lost ranks. Grey casters can also raise more powerful undead creatures to bolster their lesser minions. Rot Kings are undead minions that sap power from around them. Bone Lords are the skeletons of long-dead giants and act as generals to the lesser skeleton minions. Bone Lords bolster the defenses of those around them, as well as being able to reanimate fallen skeletons and replenish lost ranks. At high levels, a Grey caster can summon a powerful enchantress. This undead minion can claim decaying energy for her summoner and terrorizes enemies with her powerful withering spell. High-level Grey casters can also conjure a weapon out of the shadows of Ashen. This ethereal weapon acts as a spell focus, bolstering the power of their other attacks. Grey casters are also able to sacrifice their minions in a dark ritual, increasing their damage for each soul sacrificed. They can even use their arts to steal minions away from other casters, seducing conjured enemies over to their own side and using them against their former masters. Grey casters rely heavily on their minions when in combat. Grey casters' tactics usually involve summoning as many lesser minions as possible, as quickly as possible. Once this is achieved, they usually stay hidden behind these units, using them as defense, and quickly reanimating any fallen troops or scavenging any decaying energy. Once they have sufficient power, they begin to call forth more powerful minions to overwhelm their targets. There are many dangers associated with Grey magic. Grey magic has a very indirect style of casting and requires a keen tactical mind to utilize fully. It is lacking in both offense and defense spells and relies heavily on the use of summoned minions, which can potentially be costly in upkeep. Keeping mental control over several summoned minions requires high amounts of focus and can become stressful and drain the caster's mental fortitude. Capturing spirits and summoning powerful minions also carries dangers for a caster if not done properly. Powerful spirits and summoned undead can sometimes break free of a caster's control, after being drawn from their home and trapped upon our plane of existence. These powerful entities are often angry and confused and can wreak havoc to those around them. Overuse of Grey magic can lead to confusion and forgetfulness, loss of focus, loss of vision, loss of appetite, drowsiness, temporal dementia, and partial or total amnesia. Green magic. Green magic was developed in the sprawling jungles of Sarkozy. It is rooted in the Ark of Kori and is centered around the great circle of life, involving birth, growth, death, and decay. Green magic feels like an itchy, crawling sensation and smells of turned soil and sawdust. Green casters are extremely versatile and have a wide range of abilities that they can employ in combat, but they do not specialize in anything. They are jacks of all trades, but masters of none. They can cast rejuvenating heals or crippling slow poisons and can quickly adapt and change tactics depending on the situation. Green magic is slow and steady by nature, and green casters tend to take their time amassing power and preparing their spells. This can leave them open to preemptive attacks early in combat if they are not careful or prepared. Green casters have a medium blocking ability and do not possess any magical shield spells. They prefer to rely on summoned minions to protect them when in combat. Green casters can use their magic to call forth tree-like golems which they commonly employ upon the battlefield. These semi-sentient creatures can be difficult to conjure and require a constant source of energy to sustain them, but they possess many useful abilities and can be difficult to destroy. The smallest of these creatures emit healing auras, whilst the larger golems act as attacking or defensive units. Eventually these golems can grow to massive sizes, evergreens that grant powerful boons, and towering forest lords that can easily command any battlefield. Green casters can easily sustain their constructs due to a special ability they refer to as symbiosis. This ability mitigates much of a green caster's upkeep costs and allows them to raise large numbers of tree golems. At high levels, a green caster will gain the ability to evolve their golems into more powerful forms. This method of evolving their golems is much more cost-effective than conjuring them directly and allows the green caster to spend their magical energies elsewhere. Green casters also possess a few very complex high-level spells that can dramatically turn the state of play in a battle. However, these spells are not only expensive, but are so complicated and have such a long decay time that they are mainly utilized as a last resort. In battle, green caster tactics can change depending on the situation, but most green casters will attempt to buy time early on into the battle while they prepare their bigger and more dramatic spells. Many green casters choose to summon golems onto the battlefield to offset the lack of defensive spells in the Green Codex, but there are some green casters who operate without summoning golems at all. Green magic gives the caster a wide range of options in battle and the flexibility to adapt on the fly. Although they can be slow to start, green casters become extremely dangerous once they reach higher levels and can adapt to counter most types of enemies. Green magic is famously messy and complicated, and green spells often have long casting times, involving complex routines. Green magic is difficult to learn and takes time to master. Green spells are especially prone to taking root within a caster if they do not capture them quickly or successfully, and they can become very difficult to remove. Overuse of green magic can lead to tunnel vision, hypersensitivity, headaches and nausea, delusion, arrhythmia, palsy, and at its worst, coriae can often manifest as sudden mutations and growths. Purple magic. Purple magic was developed by the people of Valen and is rooted in the Ark of Mensu. Purple magic normally manifests as various telepathic abilities. Purple magic has a distant smell of mint and eucalyptus and feels like pins and needles running down your spine. In the realm of Valen, purple magic is widely used to access the field of Mensu with the unconscious mind. This ability is termed dreamwalking and allows people to journey into the dreamlands while they are asleep. The people of Valen use this magical technique as a means of communication. People from any corner of Valen can join into the same shared dream, where they can talk and swap information instantly over great distances. Dreamwalking also allows for out-of-body experiences, where mind and body can be separated, and the mind can wander the dreamlands, which is the Valen word to describe the Ark of Mensu pervading their realm. The purple arc is very tactical and can be used aggressively or defensively depending on the situation. Purple magic contains many corruptor spells designed to infiltrate a target's mind and disrupt their spellcasting abilities. Purple casters can not only hinder their target's spellcasting, but they can even steal spells directly from the minds of their targets. They can absorb magical energy from shields or directly from their targets using powerful psychic assaults. In contrast to that, the purple arc also excels in its ability to augment a caster's normal power. A purple caster can employ enhancer spells that temporarily boost their attack or defensive capabilities. They can stack multiples of these spells together to massively boost their power, although this can be very expensive in upkeep. Purple casters can also concentrate their power, focusing an aggressive spell into a much more potent form that cannot be blocked. Purple casters can even expand the boundaries of their own minds. This increases their knowledge and allows them to remember a greater number of spells than other magic users, giving them more options and a greater range of freedom during combat. Purple magic contains lots of long-lasting, active spells that require a constant source of magic to sustain them. This can be extremely expensive in upkeep costs when multiple spells are employed together. Although purple casters can mitigate some of these energy requirements with their talents, they still need to constantly absorb extra energy from external sources. Because of this, they are known to become increasingly aggressive as combat progresses and their energy needs grow. Purple magic can be utilized defensively. It possesses good blocks and the ability to create psychic barriers. But ultimately, a purple caster will have to go on the offensive to satiate their constant hunger for magical energy. A high-level purple caster will have a wide range of casting options available to them due to their ability to cast and sustain multiple spells at once. They can disable their target's spell casting, whilst also boosting their own attacks, which will boost their ability to leech energy and ultimately drain their targets of yet more power. They use this battle strategy to disarm and then empty their targets of energy, drying them of their magic and leaving them unable to cast. Purple casters are careful and tactical. They like to observe the state of play before rushing headlong into battle. They will take as much time as needed, blocking, defending, and building up their reserves until they engage in combat. When they do attack, they like to quickly disable their target's most useful talents, deprive them of their best spells, and leech them of their energies. Mensu is where reality meets imagination, and those who are not equipped to deal with purple magic may become lost within their own illusions. Dreamwalkers who separate their minds from their bodies also run the risk of becoming lost. If they cannot find their way back to their bodies, then they must wander the dreamlands forever. If left unchecked, a purple spell can fester within a caster, eventually turning into a nightmare. These parasitic magical creatures feed upon the fears and negative emotions of their host. Of all the arcs of magic, Mensu is the most demanding when it comes to energy requirements. Purple spells are among the most expensive to cast, and many purple spells also need a further input of energy to satisfy their upkeep. Casting purple magic is less of a fine art and more like a well-practiced reflex, meaning it can be difficult to master for those without a natural affinity towards Mensu. Overuse of purple magic can lead to irritability, megalomania, paranoid delusions, loss of identity, multiple personalities, hallucinations, and eventually, a complete detachment from reality. Black magic. Unlike the other arcs of magic, Sumas was only discovered in recent times, and so it has not been formally established into a magical school. Sumas also has no religious affiliations, and so does not possess a god as a magical focus. It is thought that the Ark of Sumas has not been properly accessed since the time of the Golden Era, many thousands of years ago. Black magic is unarguably the most difficult type of magic to cast, due to the elusive nature of Sumas. There are but a few known uses of Sumas thus far, but as we continue to study it, we will undoubtedly discover more applications of black magic. Even the simple act of drawing upon Sumas can be difficult, because the Black Ark does not want to interact, and must be forced into doing so. For those that possess the ability to achieve this, black magic feels like a vast emptiness opening within you. Unlike the other arcs, black magic does not carry any associated taste or smell. Black magic was first used by the ancients of the Golden Era, who appeared to have a much better understanding of it than modern humanity. In more recent times, black magic has been rarely utilized by individuals hailing from the realm of Dan and Cast, and is rooted in the Ark of Sumas. Black magic is concerned with detachment and the void. There have been only a few instances of casters using black magic, although what little has been recorded is telling of the potential power of this arc. Sumas is easily the clearest expression of infinity. The void, that space that exists between all other spaces, is profoundly, unashamedly infinite. Thus, black magic brushes closest to the concept of infinity. It can be the most difficult arc to understand, and the hardest magic to learn. The void of Sumas is an immeasurable space, able to hold the whole of reality at bay. There is no denying the power that this arc contains. Black magic can be used to summon this immeasurable void. It is an inky blackness that hinders the transfer of energy and the flow of magic. Those that are plunged into the void find themselves deprived of their senses. They cannot see or hear, smell or taste. Sound cannot transmit through the void. Light is quickly smothered by its absolute darkness. The void can be used to trap and subdue an enemy, cutting them off from the rest of the world around them. Black magic also allows a caster to fold and compress reality using the Ark of Sumas. Infinite spaces can be folded down into lower dimensions, distances can be altered. Space and time can be compressed and warped in upon itself. This is, of course, extremely dangerous, and the spells concerned with manipulating space-time are profoundly complex and intricate. Black magic can also be fashioned into cutting spells. These ultra-thin threads of woven Sumas can be used to slice through the energy bonds holding matter together, and there is little that can resist these types of spells. They cut through magic as easily as other matter. The whips of tightly woven Sumas carry the potent nature of decoherence, which is anathema to the other arcs of magic. They neatly divide magical energies, slicing clinically through, and sending the severed remains shrinking away. These types of spells can be used not only as a means of physical dissection, but also as a way to quickly sever a rival caster's spell. Because our understanding of Sumas remains in its infancy, there are still many dangers concerning black magic. The infinite void can be especially dangerous if not properly handled, as this is also the purest expression of Sumas. It was an expansion of the void that triggered the breaking of the worlds, and very nearly completely wiped out humanity in ancient times. The immensity of Sumas can be very overwhelming, and a caster can easily become disoriented and lose focus when drawing from the Black Ark. That is, if the caster can draw from Sumas at all. Sumas actively evades interaction, and casting black magic is an extremely fine and precise art. Overuse of black magic can lead to a sense of isolation, vertigo, falling sensations, moments of disconnect, magical blockages, blindness, loss of speech, fits and epilepsy, loss of motor control, and at its worst, black magic can scour the mind completely, devouring all aspects of personality into the void, and leaving nothing more than an empty husk of flesh. Little else is known about this elusive arc of magic, for few casters are ever willing or capable enough to take up the challenge of Sumas. This episode marks the end of the first section of this project, regarding the mechanics of magic. By now you should have a fairly comprehensive understanding of the arcs, and of spellcasting. As you can clearly see, I have gone into a lot of detail regarding the mechanics of magic, but that is because I wanted to create a robust magical system that gives its characters both strengths and weaknesses. I do not want a character to come along that uses magic to basically get away with whatever they want. In our next section we shall cover historical events of importance, and how humanity has made it through the various ages and into modern times. It is rather a sweeping narrative that concerns itself with general trends and focuses little on specific individuals, but then, history is often like that too. There are times, however, when history pivots upon the actions of a single individual, or a group of such people. These parts may review historical events from the perspective of that individual or group. I hope that you will join me on our journey through history. For now, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed listening, and as always, stay creative.